Abby from Bitchin the Badhousewife. This is my very first video. Today we are going to be making a glazed pumpkin loaf. Pumpkin loaf, glazed pumpkin loaf. I live in Michigan. I don't know if you have fall where you are, but as soon as the leaves turn yellow here, you crave pumpkin. You don't even need to like pumpkin. You might not even be like, why am I eating this? But when it's fall in Michigan, you better be eating pumpkin. My grandma is the one who told me about this book, but Smutlek is the name. She used to own 2 restaurants, and growing up, eating her food is what really inspired me to get into cooking and baking. I really did so once I finally got my own kitchen and wasn't using a hot plate in a dorm. It was first produced in 1967. It's by the Holland Junior League. Isn't that weird? It's from Holland, Michigan, which is also where I went to school. It's full of some great recipes, and today we are going to be making the pumpkin loaf. Pumpkin loaf, glazed pumpkin. There are some very simple ingredients that you probably already have in your cupboard. The first one is Bisquick. Cheap, it's easy. That's probably not how you would want to describe a lady, but that's how you're going to describe this Bisquick. Also, we have your basics like your powdered sugar, regular sugar, a couple spices, allspice, ground cloves, cinnamon, eggs, milk, raisins, and of course, the star of the show, pumpkin. Okay, this recipe is so simple, it's gonna blow your mind, okay? We're gonna keep things separate. You keep your dry ingredients separate from your wet ingredients. So what we're gonna start by doing is we're gonna take our Bisquick, shake it like a Polaroid picture. You know that it's like sitting there like whole brothers whole, and then all of a sudden it's all gonna come charging out at once. Shake it. Come on. So we have roughly about 2 cups. Dry ingredient. Now we need a half a cup of sugar. Sugar's a little bit more polite. It comes out a little easier. Watch as I dump this whole thing onto my counter. Half a cup, and with your Bisquick. So the recipe calls for a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And I love cinnamon. I think it's a pretty forgiving ingredient. So I'm just gonna say, Holland Junior League, I love you, but I don't agree with you. I'm gonna use a whole teaspoon of it because I think it's delicious. Now, the rest of the recipe is a little more sensitive when it comes to that. It calls for a half a teaspoon of allspice and a 1/4 a teaspoon of ground cloves. Do not mess around with either one of these because they're very potent, and I mean, they smell good, but if you don't want to feel like you're eating potpourri. I made a ham once and it called for cloves, and I grossly misread the recipe, and it felt like we were eating a Easter ham covered with crunchy potpourri. Joe put on a brave face, but I didn't make him finish because it was disgusting. So be careful with your measurements there because it will completely demolish and ruin your recipe. So we have everything from our sugar, our allspice, our cinnamon, and our Bisquick, all in the dry ingredients. So now that we have our dry ingredients set, we're going to work on the wet ingredients. And I told you it's going to blow your mind at how simple this is. So, pumpkin. It says a half a cup. Yeah, yep, that's right, half cup. You know, it's always good to just double check. Like I said, when you're cooking, it's easier to fix things. If you add too much, if you add too little. Baking, you got to be a little bit more exact, so it's okay to double check. So, half a cup of pumpkin. Ugh, blah. Have you ever eaten like raw canned pumpkin? Gross. It needs its sugar. Now we are going to take, I guess the recipe calls raisins a wet ingredient. We'll go with it. We won't ask questions. We've already added more cinnamon than we were supposed to, so that's okay. I use golden raisins. I like the flavor a little bit better. And I think that they look prettier with the orange. I don't know if that's like, you know, a legit baking thing to make sure that, you know, your food is all in the same color scheme, but we'll go with it. some stick in there. Now it also calls for 1 egg, slightly beaten. I took these eggs out about an hour ago to let them kind of come to room temperature. I've had many baking recipes flop because I didn't follow that rule, and all this time I thought, you know, they were kind of lying, but they weren't lying. So take your eggs out and let them come to room temperature. Woo! Double yolk. That's good luck. And if it's not, I'm still just gonna say it's good luck. So you apologize to your egg as you're giving it a little beating. Dump it into the wet ingredients. That's all set. And then the last thing we're gonna go with is our milk. Oh shoot, that's not the last thing. Time out. But anyway, we're gonna add 3/4 cup of milk to the wet ingredients. Yummy. And then the final one is we are going to add 2 tablespoons of canola oil. Now, I had a friend try to make this recipe and she tried to use coconut oil. It didn't work. You gotta stick with the basics. You gotta listen to the Holland Junior League. This is what they said. So 2 tablespoons of canola oil. And I like to put my dirty utensils back into the measuring cup because that way you don't have to wipe down your counter like over and over again. So now we have our dry ingredients, our wet ingredients. We need to give them each a little stir on their own, and then we're going to mix the dry ingredients completely into the wet ingredients. When you're doing this, it's very important not to overbeat, otherwise you'll get kind of like a soupy bread. So you mix it until it's just incorporated. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so we'll give our dry ingredients a little stir. You know, for our first Valentine's Day as a couple, my husband Joe baked me a cake by hand in the shape of a heart. He did not have a mixer. He mixed it all by hand. So while eating that cake, smiling, of course, because back when you're dating, everything's adorable, you'd take a bite and there'd be a huge pocket of flour or sugar that would like explode in your mouth, and you just kept smiling because it was so sweet and you didn't want to hurt his feelings. That's kind of the envy of the dorm. He could bake me another cake any day. I'll make dinner. That's fine too. We're just gonna mix the dry ingredients slightly in, about halfway. And like I said, Joe did it by hand. I am not going to do that. I got my handy dandy mixer here. Give it a little stir. I love using these farm fresh eggs. I hope to get some chickens of my own now that we're moving, but I've been getting these awesome eggs from my friends, and like they've been like double yolks almost half the time, which is pretty exciting. I don't know what she's feeding those chickens, but it's kind of fun to get the double yolk. Always wanted twins. Just kidding, I don't. At all. So we're going to continue mixing, and you can kind of see it's kind of a bit of like a thicker batter. We're just going to keep mixing until it's completely incorporated. And still going. We're going to make you work for it, I guess. And we're still going. And we're still mixing. Just a little bit longer. Not even wearing a watch. Okay. Little tappity tap. Drip our egg. So you can see that it's mixed, but there's still a little bit of like the dry crumblies. I'm just gonna take our spatula here, scoop it in, give it a nice mix. There, there. And just check it a couple times. You can see that it's all mixed through and we're not seeing any dry pieces of flour. Cool. So we're all mixed through. Get all this stuff out of the way. I like to keep a little bag on the counter for, you know, all of your small kitchen garbage because I'm lazy and I guess throwing it under the sink is too much work, but it's kind of nice to take out a little garbage, and it uses up all those little stupid shopping bags that you get that you really don't even need a bag for, I guess, but whatever. Pan, meet Pam. Give it a little quick spray. And then you're just gonna dump the dough into the pan here. Flatten it out. Now you don't want to fill the pan all the way up because it will rise in case it bubbles over. You kind of want to have an extra cookie sheet. It also helps, you know, it catches all the stuff so you're not scrubbing it out of the bottom of your oven. And it makes it easier to grab a loaf pan out so you don't burn your hand. So we're going to put this in the oven for 350 degrees for 55 to 60 minutes until you can stick a toothpick, not a Q-tip, until you can stick a toothpick in the center and it comes out clean without any batter on it. I don't know if you can hear Binks in the background, but he's wanting some of that pumpkin bread in there, but he gonna get it. But since you probably don't want to wait 60 minutes for the bread to bake, I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know, but I did make one just in case. Ta-da! So I let it cool for about 10 minutes, put the plate over top, flipped it. Before I did take it out of the oven though, I took a toothpick. You put it right down the middle, make sure it comes out clean, meaning no batter kind of cling into it. That means your bread's done. You let it cool for about 10 minutes, one, so you don't burn your hand off when you flip the pan over, but also it kind of lets the bread bake up just a little bit more when it's not inside the oven. So now it's glaze time. So get one more little. Raw pumpkin, gross. Pumpkin with sugar and cinnamon in it, delicious. So, since we only had the dry ingredients in this bowl, there's no sense in getting it dirty again because we're not going to be actually baking it. So any like remnants of it in here, one, you won't be able to taste. Two, you don't need to bake it up. And the recipe says 1 cup of powdered sugar. But again, I'm going to break a rule a little bit and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it because if you like your frosting a little bit thicker, you're going to want to add more powdered sugar. If you like it a little bit thinner, you're going to add a little bit more cream or milk. In this case, I like to use French vanilla creamer. I think it gives it a nice little kick. I think it's something different and it's a little bit thicker than milk. So we're going to go with that. Okay, down, squeeze it gently. And you don't need a lot because a good glaze will kind of cover the whole loaf. So you just want to kind of eyeball it, like I said. Take it nice and slow. A couple tablespoons. And again, I don't mind a little excess pumpkin in the glaze. It's delicious. Just don't turn it on when there's still stuff on or it'll go everywhere. Mix it up. So we're getting a nice, you can kind of see it dripping. It's a nice little glaze. I still like to have an extra vanilla kick to it. So I'm just going to add just a little bit, more vanilla. In a lot of cases, I will use the real vanilla, but when you're just making a glaze for a delicious pumpkin loaf, it's okay to use imitation. Plus, it's like $4 cheaper. We're not the Rockefellers. Tap it. And I like to use a bowl that has a little spout on it. It makes it easier for, you know, making it look pretty. I feel like we should be like, pour some sugar on me. Oh, so good. Just kind of keep going back and forth, let it drizzle out. So let's cut into this bad boy. Everything looks better on pretty plates. I just got these chicken plates from Anthropology because why wouldn't you need plates with chicken heads on them? I mean, I guess you're not really living until you do. I don't know, just another excuse I'm going to use when Joe's like, why are you buying plates with chicken heads on them? Because why not? So we're going to cut into it. Nice way to hold it. Psycho way to hold it. Let's go a nice way to hold it. Just cut yourself a nice big piece. Whoa. And then I like to take just a little glaze. Just add it onto the side because the glaze is so good. Give it a good sniff, and it's so good. There might not be a whole lot of loaf left. Thanks for sticking it out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I also hope you enjoy your delicious smelling pumpkin loaf. Make sure that you don't tell your friends until after you've eaten enough that you want. I took it to work and it was literally gone within like 5 minutes. But thanks for sticking it out. I'm anxious to hear what you think. If you have any comments and suggestions and ideas for next time, please do so below, but please be nice to me. I'm very sensitive. Not really. I'm not sensitive at all. But anyway, I'd still love to hear what you have to say. You can check out more recipes, lifestyle posts, and other fun things on my blog, which is www.binksandthebadhousewife.com. It's BINKS and thebadhousewife.com. And I will see you next time from a different location. I'm actually moving out to the country. My husband, Joe the Dream Killer, and I have bought a farm. So you'll see me next time in my new Bitchin kitchen. We'll see you next time. I like this glitter. You're like, I don't know what to do with my hands.